Friends, good evening. I'm Unmesh Dikshit, welcoming you on behalf of Ahmedabad Management Association. Sorry, due to rain and heavy traffic, the speakers are getting a little late, but we'll start now. Gift related topics and subjects, we are thankful to Mr. Sandip Shah, who is also our committee member. He has been always helpful and supporting for providing us good topics and good speakers and creating awareness about Gift City and its relevant topics or the growth of Gift City, benefits for the society. So thank you very much, Sandeep bhai, once again. Happy New Year to everybody. And let us start. Whoever joins, then you can take it forward if they are late right now, right? We have today with us total all four speakers. I'll be introducing them so that we don't disturb in between. We have Mr. Abhishek Kaushik, founder and CEO of Global Horizons Capital Advisors IFSC Private Limited. Under his leadership, the firm is bringing the first ever IPO from Gift City. He has been into the financial ecosystem with over 2 decades of experience in banking, investment banking, wealth management, and NBFC leadership. We will be having much more interaction with him. We have another speaker, Ms. Ketaki Gor Mehta. She is partner at Crisil Amarchand Mangaldas, a leading firm at IFSC Gift City, practicing and playing a key role in its fintech and financial services and regulatory practices, with extensive experience in cross-border and domestic M&A, joint ventures, and private equity, venture capital. We will be having insightful sharing from her also. We have another speaker, Ms. Hetal Kotak. She is the head of listing at NSE International Exchange IFSC, the leading and dominant stock exchange in Gift City IFSC. Chartered accountant with over 20 years of experience in India's capital markets. She has worked across major stock exchanges and IFSC institutions. We will learn a lot of things from her. We have Ms. Riddhi Vohra, head of listings at India International Exchange, India INX, which is called Gift City, a seasoned company secretary with over a decade of experience and in listing, corporate laws, and regulatory advisory roles, including debt securities, equity shares, depository receipts, and funds such as EIT and Invest. Before joining India INX, she worked extensively in Indian domestic capital markets also. And we have Mr. Sandip Shah, our own AMA member also, and the face of Gift City. He is heading the IFSC department of Gujarat International FinTech Gift City, which is called. He plays a vital role in developing and promoting India's first international financial services center with over 15 years of experience in financial services, and he has a lot of experience. Many of you must have interacted with him because this is a regular series. Thank you very much all the speakers. I will be sharing the memento to you, and then our moderator is Sandip bhai. He will take it forward, including the Q&A and vote of thanks. Thank you very much for joining. My humble request to all members are that your mobiles are important, but they should vibrate because they want to speak and you need to listen to them. We should not disturb others. We are getting feedback of few people that they are disturbing others. So after the event is over, please do not ask phone numbers of the speakers unless they wish to share it with you, because at the end of the day, AM is responsible. If you are taking and you are disturbing them, then I get a call that you are being disturbed. So these are two humble requests. Please support them. Please support the environment and culture of AMA. Thank you very much. Ma'am, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Pleasure.
Thank you very much. Some of this series we have been doing, I think many of you have been attending in the past as well. I think I would like to share one experience. One of the such seminar, we did it for foreign universities recently, where we wanted to give kind of a perspective about how students now can become part of the foreign university campuses which are already based in Gift City. So if you want to study in Australia, you don't need to go to Australia. There are universities in Gift City where you can study. And happy to share that post such seminar, few of the students have actually enrolled with the universities there. I think that shows the success of some of these interactions. And I think today's topic is also very important and relevant. I think when we are talking in Gujarat and specifically in Ahmedabad, we don't need to go in the basics of what is IPO and what is listing, because many a times if Gujaratis don't apply for some of the IPOs, there is a high possibility where the IPO may not get fully subscribed. So there's the strength and power of what we do and what how Gujaratis are involved in the capital market ecosystem. But probably today's discussion is also again going to be very interesting, because till recently, either as an investor or as corporate, you have always kind of thought of listing on the Indian capital markets, which are say NSE or BSE, domestic stock exchanges, and you always thought of raising money from the domestic investors in the rupee terms. Also, as an investor, whenever you wanted to invest, the only option that generally all of us have explored is in terms of applying to the IPO, in rupee terms, which are coming up in GIFT City. And as all of you know, that the concept of GIFT City is very unique, where we are trying to create international financial services center at par with some of the other global financial centers. And that's where how our Indian corporates, our Indian companies can actually become the part of a growth story, global growth story. And many a times such fundraising also helps in terms of reducing their borrowing costs, and ultimately it helps Indian economy to get the right kind of funding at a right price, and which ultimately fuels the growth of the economy. In the past, traditional ways of fundraising have been explored in terms of raising banking loan through the ECBs, right, which has been a traditional way where many of our Indian corporates have raised money in dollar terms from the foreign banks, including Indian banks branches overseas. But today's discussion is very unique, very interesting, where we have two international exchanges with us. They operate 22 hours a day today as we speak, and they will share more details about how international exchange in GIFT City in India is operating and competing with some of the other international exchanges. Similarly, we also have merchant banker with us, and I'm happy to share that he is also part of one of the important milestone that we are going to achieve in terms of getting the first equity listing in GIFT City, again in dollar terms. And that's where all of you may have question in terms of how, as an investor or as a corporate, you can become part of some of these initiatives, and that's where we wanted to deep dive into these aspects. GIFT, as I mentioned, IFSC is like a foreign territory. It's from a Foreign Exchange Management Act perspective, whenever these entities operate in the zone, they are considered as a foreign entity. They can deal in any foreign currency, but they cannot deal in rupee. Now, in the absence of this IFSC, these institutions would have operated in Dubai, Singapore, or Hong Kong, because there were earlier, prior to 2015, there were no regulations around international financial services. But with this mechanism, there is now a possibility where you and me can trade on the US stocks, right? We can trade in dollar denominated securities. We can buy the IPOs of global companies, and that's the beauty of the financial center which is coming up. Today because the discussion is more focused on the capital market side, but as a GIFT City, it's evolving in a larger way, where fintech companies, insurance firms, even life insurance companies issuing a dollar denominated insurance policy. So there are so many other aspects related to the finance, investments, happening from the zone, which we will in a series of our such discussion, we will bring it to you. And beyond that, if you think you would like to also understand more details, we'll be happy to come out with such sessions as well. But let me now start with our discussion with the panel members now. Basically, Riddhi, I'll start with you. you bring the market infrastructure institution in the ecosystem. So before we enter into the listing side of it, all of them I'm sure are part of the trading ecosystem in India. They all trade on NSE exchange, right? Some or other way. How NSE Mumbai and NSE GIFT City is different. If you can quickly help us understand that. Sorry, the India Annex and BSE. So India Annex is the subsidiary of Bombay Stock Exchange. So how BSC in Mumbai and the BSC in GIFT City is different, and probably you can also add from NSE perspective because they are both the international exchange here. So maybe you can start, and maybe you may add in terms of how both the ecosystem is different. Please.
So I'm sure Hetal will also cover a lot of how domestic exchanges are different from the international exchanges. So because we had listings, I will probably shed some light with respect to the listing perspective. So in the domestic exchanges, firstly, as Sandip sir mentioned, the currency for fundraising is INR. However, at the international exchanges, there are currently 15 permissible currencies except INR, which can be used for fundraising. In terms of initial public offers, what we see in the domestic market is that only Indian entities can raise funds through the exchanges in India. However, at international exchanges, you can raise funds, so Indian companies, listed and unlisted, both can raise funds from the international exchanges, but however, it has to be in a different currency than INR, followed by foreign entities. So an entity set up probably in US or Dubai or Singapore or any other part of the country can also raise funds through initial public offers or FPOs or OFS and many other more routes. Apart from that, there are GIFT City entities. So GIFT City entities can also raise funds from GIFT City. Again, the currency has to be something apart from INR. It has to be the 15 permissible currencies. I'm sure you can throw some light.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Thank you. I'd like to break my response into two parts. One on a little lighter note, which I think Sandip ji will very much relate to and agree. The question he has asked is for us as to how different are we from domestic India. When we started working on GIFT City, which I think we have in common, which is over 5-6 years before today, the vision of PM was very, very clear that we are an offshore jurisdiction. We have to onshore what businesses have gone out of India. And therefore, we are very clearly ring-fenced from domestic India. So even in case of IPOs, we often get asked, why would somebody not go to NSE and come to NSE IX? Person is free to go to NSE, depending on his balance sheet, depending on what he wants to, why he wants to raise money, what he wants to do. He's free to go to NSE. So we, GIFT City, and today we can confidently say that we have come such a long way that we are not a substitute to anybody. We are a jurisdiction in itself. We are an offshore jurisdiction which has been created by the then CM vision and today PM vision to be a complete onshoring of whatever business has gone to other countries. The prime example of that I would like to share is our flagship product, which is GIFT Nifty. Many of you all still must be calling it SGX Nifty. Now, foreigners trade on Nifty. They would go to Singapore Stock Exchange and check the prices, and they would trade, and billions of dollars worth of trades were happening on Singapore Stock Exchange. Today, that has been onshored, and that product trades as GIFT Nifty on our exchange. So I would like to say that questions were many that, really, will this jurisdiction work? I mean, is it just something on paper? But I think sir will agree, what started like a forced arranged marriage has become like a love marriage now. There's a lot of pyar, and there are, from the secondary market side, we are seeing phenomenal volumes. Also from primary market side, when we used to go and pitch to issuers, primarily all of us must be aware that any such new any such new jurisdiction or any such new development, the PSUs are the ones to take the first move, you know. So even PSUs 5-6 years back used to tell us, अरे यार मैडम क्या आप लोग वो 3 शेर वाला मुंह का वो government project, this, that, you come to us, you know. GIFT was a forced kind of a notion for them, but we've come a long way. So to answer the question, you know, sir, I would like to say that we are very different. We have proven ourselves as an proper offshore jurisdiction, providing both primary as well as secondary services.
No, that's the, you know, a very kind of a detailed answer where I'm sure when you look at CNBC today, you look at GIFT Nifty, which was earlier known as SGX Nifty, right? I think it's a very proud moment for all of us that now that in Nifty, which was earlier, you know, where we used to look at Singapore, where how the Indian market will perform at 9:15 or 9:30 in the morning, right? But today, that entire price discovery of the Nifty happens from India through GIFT City. And I think I'm congratulations to NSE, where the last month the open interest has crossed $21 billion in a month in terms of the open interest of one contract. I mean Nifty as a contract, which itself shows the kind of success of onshoring the offshore, you know, financial instruments at GIFT City. Probably when we are talking of raising equity or debt, the role of merchant banker is very important, very critical. Similarly, in India as well, I think whenever company decides to raise equity or debt, they first knock the door is the merchant banker or the investment banker. And I think, you know, Abhishek, it's kind of would like to kind of give you again, you know, it's a remarkable step that you have taken as an institution where nobody was talking of equity, everybody was focused more on the derivative side. And I think exchanges would agree that for a listing of equity, it was a long journey. And it was not easy. And you kind of took a first step, reached out to the company. So maybe would you like to give a perspective to the audience here in terms of how the journey was, how did you approach to the company? And I'm sure when you approach to the first company, there is a long pipeline with you who are ready to come and be a part of this ecosystem.
That's right. Thank you, Sandip bhai. So exactly as Sandip bhai said, this was exactly the point. It was a very difficult decision because I remember no one was talking about listing any company here. Forget about foreign companies, even the Indian companies, because the listing rules were very different. And you know, I think the trigger got last year, 2024, August 2024, when under Mohandas Pai, the listing, new listing regulations were announced. So while I believe there is still a lot of work to do, and I'll be very candid, right, because this has taken last 9-10 months, you know, and I'm still coming straight from the airport only, right. Most of the things we are trying to tie the loose ends here and there, and exchanges have been very, very supportive. The regulators have been very supportive. GIFT City has been very, very supportive. The regulations will still keep on changing for the better, right? But the whole idea was, if you see last year, what was happening? Last year, the world was getting into a turmoil, right? We had the wars going on, and there were more, you know, supply chain things which we thought that they would be disrupted. They are still going on. That is where the Moscow Stock Exchange had got sanctioned, if you remember. And that was a big trigger for us. I remember I had come to the exchange and said that, you know, I want to see if we can get some companies from Moscow Stock Exchange get listed here in rubles. That's one idea. And we have ruble as a currency, by the way, in GIFT City, right? India has a jurisdiction, but there was no settlement. Till the time I believe now the UCO Bank will come, and we probably will see the settlement also happening in rubles. So probably you might see that in 1 year we have Russian companies listed in ruble here also. That could happen. But then this was the trigger where we figured out, if you see all the major stock markets anywhere, US is too big. If you want to raise $1 billion and all that stuff, you can go to US. the costs will justify. They are very costly, right? If you go to Singapore, it's kind of, it doesn't really have that depth which we have in our Indian markets, the large retail base which we have, right? That is one. Then if you go to other markets like Dubai, I think there is no comparison. London is drying up now. The companies are getting delisted and the larger ones are moving there. Now that is the point where we thought that, you know, anything which is typically of the size of $10-11 million to $100 million, $150 million, wherever it is, whether it is Australia or US or neighboring countries, that could be our target segment. And India as such, we are a very strong jurisdiction. While people crib about it's very difficult to do the business in India, but time and again, you know, wherever we have seen, the regulators have been very, very amazing to predict what can go wrong. While I believe there are some things which can be eased out in a phased manner, but whatever said and done, we have done a good job. And that is where we thought I should actually start. I did go to a lot of companies, and XCD happens to be the first Indian company which is getting listed. It was slightly difficult because the rules say that if an Indian company is getting listed raising money in US dollars, then Indians cannot apply. Now this is also something which we are still debating with the finance ministry. It is beyond us, beyond IFSCA. So, and I believe the ministry has taken note of it. So whatever money we want to raise through NRs or foreign nationals and all. And that is where we see a lot of support happening in the terms of ease of KYCs, onboarding process and all that is also happening. But the point is, I will tell you, as a pipeline, Sandip bhai, you said, we have more interests from foreign companies to list here. A lot of US companies are actually looking at us. They are understanding. A few companies have come to us for a direct listing without an IPO, the way Spotify did. And I'm very happy to say that yesterday we had put our recommendations for what the direct listing rules should be. And there are other firms who want to raise from $50 million to $150 million. And they are all in the pipeline. So my sense in the next 1.5 years, we should have at least 15-20 very large reputed firms trading full-fledgedly here in GIFT City.
No, perfect. I think the derivative market has already shown a right kind of success, and with now equity probably, and as you rightly mentioned, India, we may take some time, but the market that we can offer is huge. I think probably in the domestic market also, we remember SMEs were allowed to list on the exchange platform. And today I think there is a queue in terms of, you know, the SMEs who are actually looking to list on the exchange platform. And many times I look at some numbers, if company is looking for 1,000 crore rupees, sometimes the subscription is for more than 20,000 crore rupees as well. So that's the kind of potential that we are talking of in terms of how much investment that a company can generate or collect from the investors. And that is where such global market or a global platform will also play a very important role, because many times these businesses are also global in nature. They are many times companies operating in India or in Gujarat, their 100% revenue coming from the international markets. And when the revenue is coming from the international markets, how can they become part of the international capital market growth story? Probably the two important topics that we are discussing today are bond and equity. And let me start with now bond side of it. And I believe there are companies from Gujarat as well who have listed their bonds on the exchange platform. Adani is the one of such name which have become part of the growth story. Now, bonds, typically in India, we are aware about the bonds where rupee denominated bonds are raised, issued and listed on the exchange as well. Probably there is also a mechanism where Indian issuers can think of raising the foreign currency debt through the bonds through GIFT City. And probably if you are part of any Indian corporate or a corporate based in Gujarat, you may have questioned, can I raise my debt in dollar terms or maybe any foreign currency through GIFT City, and what are the advantages? So maybe the question is to both of you. One, how exchange is kind of, is providing right kind of ecosystem to raise such debt basically? What kind of companies have raised money right now in terms of the numbers or the names, if you can highlight? And also maybe briefly you can touch upon a process where if somebody wants to go ahead and decide that I want to raise $1 debt, how exchange can help them basically?
So I'll take this first. So India International Exchange has been the first international exchange to be incorporated in GIFT IFSC. It was incorporated in 2017. From there on, we have seen that as of today, the number of medium-term note programs established at the exchange is more than $83 billion. Out of the standalone issuances cumulatively done on both the exchanges, it's somewhere about $65 billion, out of which $61 billion have been raised through the India International Exchange platform. Interestingly, we also have an exclusive memorandum of understanding with the Luxembourg Stock Exchange for all our green issuers. So any issuer who is listing under the green category, the name of the issuer gets reflected on the SOL of the Luxembourg Stock Exchange. So talking about how they can raise debt through the India International Exchange platform or the exchanges in GIFT City, the first and the primary thing for any issuer to do is to find an arranger. Once you have appointed an arranger, the next step would be to go to a credit rating agency for rating of the instruments. And once you are done with the process, you can come to the exchange platform for filing your listing application. So India INX provides a digital seamless experience for all our issuers, where the listing is done entirely through our digital platform, and the process is as seamless as one day for listing of the bonds once the settlement is done.
Thank you, Riddhi. So essentially, as Sandip bhai asked, if a corporate, I'll respond to it practically because operationally I think she has covered it. So to practically say that if you all have a corporate who wants to raise foreign currency money, now the question often would come, why would a corporate want to raise foreign currency money? Today RBI has been speaking to not only NBFCs but also to microfinance institutions that you have to diversify your book. So the first step there is that they have to have the awareness, they have to have the mindset, they have to know that it is possible to raise ECBs, and now it is possible to raise ECBs at 1/10 the cost than what you could in earlier days because GIFT City is available to you. When we started pitching for debt, in my earlier role in INX, we used to have only the PSUs who were, forthcoming and who were listing with us. But then the corporates, the private corporates such as Adani, Tata, Reliance, all of them started coming in. What really was the game changer was in January 2024, we started pitching for an end-to-end listing and fundraising from GIFT City. So Sandip bhai, what the advantages of the local corporates would be is they can even raise $2 million. There is no minimum market capitalization requirement here at GIFT City, unlike other stock exchanges where you have to raise minimum XYZ million or so on and so forth. So on our exchange platforms, we have small microfinance institutions who have raised $3 million to a jumbo issuance of $7 billion. So that is the range, and that is the advantage and the flexibility of the governance and of the regulations and of the ease of operations that is there in GIFT City, because of which the flexibility that has been provided to us by the regulators and by the entire ecosystem. And I would say it's not just us as an exchange. We come last. the job starts with regulators such as y'all, you know, stamp duty exemptions, ease of, providing documents. Nothing is hard-coded in the IFSCA listing regulations. Today, I think many of y'all, if y'all are already liaising with corporates, the moment SEBI LODR comes to your mind, oh my God, you know, haath pair kaapne lagte hai. But there's nothing like that here in the GIFT jurisdiction. The regulations are so straight through, so easy, and that makes this 48-hour or 24-hour timeline possible for us. So I would say it's a top to bottom kind of an approach where we have easy. It's not just on paper that we are saying that we are giving ease of doing business today is a very loosely used word. But I would say in case of GIFT City, we mean business, and there is literally ease of doing business. So the moment a corporate comes with, let's say, the moment I would say as a corporate, if he decides that he wants to raise ECBs, now RBI has eased ECB guidelines also so much. So as she correctly said, you appoint an arranger, you appoint a legal counsel, you start your work. End to end, we have observed that within 6 to 8 weeks, he is able to raise, list, and that, the credit through IIDI, which is a central depository in GIFT City, has gone into the demat account of that foreign fund holder. So those are the kind of advantages that GIFT City is offering to corporates, even for small ticket size, to raise this kind of money.
And whatever we are talking, I think the success story is $65 billion. It's not on the paper. $65 billion has already been raised, and right in terms of the MTN programs that basically MTN is $80 billion plus. 65 is actually listed on the exchange platform. I can see Nirav Bhai also here, who is working day in day out with issuers in India and specifically on the bond market as well. So maybe when we start question, I'll also ask you question before you raise your question, in terms of how do you see the issuers looking at GIFT City market. But before that, maybe Abhishek, while equity is the first step that you've taken in terms of getting the investors for the corporate, but say if a ABC Limited decides, and exchange rightly mentioned about the available infrastructure for them to list, but the next question is, how do I find investor? And do you think a firm like yours can help them to kind of connect with the right kind of investors to raise the debt, basically?
Yes, I think off lately, while we were mostly engaged in equity because we had to, do the job in hand first. In the last 2-3 months, I've been getting a lot of requests for debt listing, and that too of almost say 1,000 crores, 2,000 crores each. And these are not the small firms; they are InvITs also, So the one flavor is infrastructure. A lot of infrastructure firms now we have been talking, and I think every 10 days we do have a meeting with some of the issuers who want to explore. And let me tell you now, for the arranger, now we have enough interest of a few banks which I can see within GIFT City, IBU, and today we just don't have Indian banks. We have Japanese banks, we have banks from Middle East, we have banks from Taiwan who are setting up their shops. And when I talk to them, they have a fairly right mandate. Everyone wants a pie of a good bond. And infrastructure is actually one fantastic place to be in, and everyone wants to have a pie. And frankly, I believe that the demand seems insatiable. 2,000 crore monthly I'm talking about. So that is the scope which we can do. That is one. And also the green bonds. Suddenly we find that these green bonds and blue bonds and sustainability, everything that has got the flavor. There are some, I believe, a few institutions like FMO, IFC, they have a mandate to invest. And India per se, if you see, the regulations are such that a lot of corporates, a lot of the government corporates, they are moving towards that, whether it is solar transition bonds, vehicles getting converted from diesel to electric. Now that is happening in a big way. State governments are doing it. Now that is where we are seeing a lot of demand. They want us to help them out, figure out all this mechanism to raise the money from outside. So these things are happening, and they are happening at a very large pace. I believe, I don't see, and I think exchanges can answer more. when can we start seeing the trading also to happen? That secondary market, that is something which, you know, people really want to see. Folks like JB, Jules Ware and all, they want to just jump into the market because the quality of the bonds which are there now listed are very, very amazing, very high, very good quality. So I think that is the step number 2 which is going to happen.
I'll just like to add in terms of the demand, as Abhishek was very correctly saying, you know, it's very important for all of us to know the perception of India has changed since August. Like, not that we are unaffected by the geopolitical happenings, but however, the rating upgrade that S&P has given us has really taken India a notch up. And where do you see the effect of that? You will see the effect of that when you as a corporate or your client as a corporate is going into the foreign markets. So that rating upgrade has really added to the impetus that you were mentioning.
And I think the very valid point raised by Abhishek is about the vibrant bond market. Probably, I think globally we have seen that many international markets have very vibrant bond market where retail investors, institutional investors participate like the way we participate in the equity. And I think India has seen some success, and probably while the institutional bond listings have started happening, eventually we will also see how bonds can also be traded like equity, where there is enough liquidity for retail and both institutional investors. Now again, you know, that was more from the bond listing side, and by the way, this is all also supported by the tax benefit. There is also a withholding tax advantage. Say if you otherwise, in a normal sense, if you would have raised money from London, Singapore or Hong Kong kind of market, the withholding tax may go up to 10, 15 or 20% depending on the jurisdiction. But I believe GIFT City provides 9% withholding tax, which again adds to the benefits which they already highlighted. So that's a clear advantage from a tax perspective as well. And as mentioned, there are 35 banks there. So whichever market you are looking at it, whether European market, Japan, US, UK, there are banks present, physically present in GIFT City, and they will ensure that you have access to the right kind of market whenever you are looking to raise money. Now let's come to the equity side of it. It's a favorite topic for our group here. Many of them are actively trading on the equity side today in India. And many of them have also aspiration to now look at the global market. And I think there is always, in this global world, I think all of us use global products, Apple, Samsung, you know, Google, Amazon, and day in, day out. But probably we are not part of their success story when we talk of those companies, because when they are growing, then generating profit, I think it's also a right. It's our right to kind of be a part of their success story by buying their equity shares. That is where we are talking today about how equity listing can happen on the international exchange in GIFT City. Again, coming back to both Hetal and Riddhi, we have got depository where the demat accounts can be held. They are all aware about the domestic market where, you know, how to apply in a click of a button. They all apply to the equity, and, you know, their shares are allocated to the demat account. Maybe before we deep dive into the technicalities, it would be good idea to kind of present them about the market infrastructure available when such listing happens. As investor, how they can actually become part of that journey. I'm sure it's a first listing, so many of developments will come forward, but probably what's available today you may like to highlight quickly.
Yeah, so when we compare it with the domestic market, you have got CDSL and NSDL, which are the two active depositories in India. However, for any subscription during the IPO process or for any of the upcoming issuances in GIFT City, you need to have an account with the depository in GIFT City, which is IIDI. It is a JV of CDSL and NSDL. and it is the one single depository in the GIFT City jurisdiction, unlike the 2 depositories that we have in the domestic market. Now, from an Indian resident perspective, you need to have a foreign currency account. If you have a foreign currency account, many of you sitting here might be aware about the LRS scheme. So under LRS scheme, Indians can invest up to $250,000 each year in instruments, or probably for education or for tourism. The capping is of $250,000. So during the IPO process, there's one technicality which needs to be noted here, is that for the first IPO, Indian issuers are coming to the market. So Indian investors cannot invest. In case, so I think in the second IPO, which is coming, it's a US issuer who is planning to file the DRHP with the exchanges. So in case of any other issuer being a non-Indian issuer, the Indian investors can invest in the IPOs through the LRS route, which is subject to $250,000. So the 2 things that needs to be done is, firstly, you need to have a demat account with a broker in the GIFT City jurisdiction who has connectivity with the depository in the GIFT City jurisdiction. And that is how you can subscribe to the shares in GIFT City. You can please add if I'm missing out anything.
No, fantastic. You've covered it well, but I would just like to do a little poll, if I'm allowed, Sandip bhai. How many of us have a domestic demat account? Please raise hands. How many of y'all, before Riddhi spoke about LRS, knew that you could invest $250,000 as an Indian individual in LRS? Okay, the number's gone to 1/4. How many of y'all have a Dream 11 account? Nobody? How many of y'all have gaming accounts, any sort of gaming accounts? I'm sure the number will be more than the ones who raised for LRS.
They are worried. They are worried of a tax notice, maybe.
Yeah. So that's the actual point we're trying to make, and I it's a very valid question that you have raised. That it's very important for all of us sitting here to know that it's like she said, maybe this particular issue is an Indian issue, and as we said, it's ring fenced. You're not allowed to invest in an Indian company. You're not allowed right now. That is the limitation. We'll cross the bridge when government approves it and we come to it later. But tomorrow, a Silicon Valley based company or a Sri Lankan company or a Bhutanese company comes and lists, how many of y'all would actually be interested to see that, okay, let me put $1,000 and see kya hota hai? Like, how many of y'all will study the prospectus and see kya hota hai? But here, any SME IPO, as Abhishek said, will come, or sir, you also said, okay, this much is the issue, the subscription is 20 times. So this is just, one source of encouragement for everybody here, and to spread the word that it is so easy to get onboarded and to be able to utilize your LRS limit and to be able to trade and invest through GIFT City. So, all of y'all should get into that soon.
Yeah, I would just like to add one thing. So as Sandip sir was just mentioning that, you can subscribe to US stocks, but as of now, there were very limited global access service providers in India who were providing these services. Interestingly, we have seen a lot of volume coming in from the LRS route from India to invest in global stocks directly. So this is possible through the wholly owned subsidiary of India, INX, which is the Global Access, and I'm pretty sure NSE IX is also coming up with a similar product. So let me just give you a brief about what Global Access is. So today you are investing in commodities, equities, ETFs, mutual funds in the domestic market. However, you would also want to have a pie of stocks in US, or probably Brazil or Vietnam or other exchanges across the world. So global access platforms gives that opportunity to the Indian retail investors to diversify their portfolio through the connectivity of international brokers, where you have connectivity of 150 international stock exchanges. You can trade in 33 countries in 26 currencies. And as of now, I think in the last quarter, somewhere in December 2024, what we had seen was more than 1 trillion volume comes through the global access platform, which is coming through various entities in India and also through retail participation from retail individual investors. So this is something new which is coming up at GIFT City apart from bond listing and equity listing.
True, I think this is already up and live. So there are stockbrokers operating in GIFT City. You can open account online. The list of broker is available on the website. Open the account, transfer the money from your rupee to dollar, and buy the stocks of the companies that you want to. It can be US, London market, Korea market, and I think this is already happening. Number of Demat accounts opened in GIFT City is somewhere more than 60,000.
In fact, on our system itself, the UCCs have gone up from 3,000 to 65,000 in just a matter of past 6 months of Indians wanting to trade LRS.
I think the demats are also almost close to, with Ind Money only, they are close to 92,000.
92,000.
Only one broker.
Correct. So Ind Money, it's a very well-known name, online broking. 92,000 accounts have been opened. Also, many of the NRIs have opened a saving account with the banks in GIFT City. The fixed deposit that they have opened is more than $1 billion. So if your family, friends who are actually abroad, they can actually open account with the banks in GIFT City in dollar terms. It will not be a rupee. They don't need to convert, place the deposits there, and they are offering a very attractive interest rate today in dollar terms. So I think that is something which can also be considered. And when dollar is lying in the bank account, I think it can easily be routed for the various investments in the equity and debt. How much time do we have? 5-10 minutes now. It's right. So probably because while there are more questions for all of you, but maybe we can also give chance to audience. If you have any questions with either exchange or with the merchant banker here, please raise it. And then we can close it. Yeah, there is some.
Currency will be treated for me into LRS, and what are the taxation rule applicable in GIFT City, because I am an Indian person and I have this tax applicability according to Indian laws. So this will be applied to the investment in GIFT City, and what are the nomination rules for the investment which I have invested in the foreign currency market?
So I can take that. See, one is that if you suppose the IPOs are coming, the next further IPOs are US companies from Australia, London, right? Number one, any entity which is listed on the GIFT City stock exchanges, that does not attract any capital gains, so there is no TDS. Whatever taxation is applicable as per your Indian this thing, right? So this is applicable to everyone. If someone is investing from Dubai and there is no tax there, then यहाँ पे नहीं कटेगा, वो जो उनका country में वहीं पे जाके settle होगा. So exchange in GIFT City, they will not charge. There is one extra advantage. If you are trading, there is no security transaction tax also. So you buy, sell, whatever you want to do, there is no tax there also.
See, I'd like to rephrase that. It's not that there is no capital gains tax. Just because you are investing in GIFT, you don't cease to be an Indian. Your accounts, your taxation, everything, your ITR return is going to be filed as you are an Indian only. So we are not a tax haven, but we are giving tax advantages. So whatever you would be charged as a resident Indian for trading in foreign stocks, you will continue to be charged that way. But yes, as he correctly mentioned, there are STT benefits. The total transaction cost, there are no transaction charges on the exchange. The total transaction costs on the exchanges are minimal. But taxation in terms of your long-term capital gain tax, etc., if you're asking, I'm not a tax expert, but it would be as per your country of residence.
I meant that only, that in GIFT, it would not be charged. You will have to file your taxes as per your home jurisdiction.
Yeah. This this will be counted as an income in my.
Absolutely.
It will be, so as far as I know, so today the rule in India is if you have a capital gain from the foreign stocks, it is treated as capital gain, and as per short term and long term capital gain tax
Exactly.
rate, it will be applicable
Correct.
to you in
It
as
is
in
exactly
India.
the same.
Yeah.
Can you explain in layman term? That how is an Indian investor benefited by the bond listing and equity listing in GIFT IFSC?
Sure. I'll start and maybe you can add. So one, as of now, the bond listing is largely for the corporates. These corporates in India, like say, the PFC, Power Finance Corporation, or REC or ONGC kind of companies, they regularly used to raise foreign debt. Now, earlier, prior to GIFT City, they were going to London market, they were going to US, Singapore market to raise such foreign debt. The cost was high, the taxation was high. Now, GIFT has reduced that transaction cost, taxation, and it has made it very easily and accessible for such corporates. So probably the bond, as of now that we are talking, is largely beneficial to the corporates who were earlier going abroad. They are now coming to India. India financial center is providing right kind of ecosystem for them to raise such foreign debt. For individual bond listing will soon come, whereas we discussed that if the bond market becomes more
No,
vibrant.
I would like to say
Yeah.
that as we are trying, all of us sitting here are trying to pitch that GIFT becomes a offshore jurisdiction for the global south. I mean, entire neighboring countries,
Yeah.
so many other nations. So when they, and as Abhishek said, blue bonds, green bonds, orange bonds, gender bonds, so on and so forth, if we can be so bullish on different types of equity and SME IPOs in domestic India, I'm sure that if options of good, good investment options of infrastructure companies, etc., from around the global south are available in the GIFT City, then all of us would like to, get a pie of it. And fixed income instruments, who doesn't like? Everybody doesn't put all eggs in one basket. So, as time progresses, at that time it will be beneficial for individuals in terms of the bond ecosystem. In terms of the corporates, as he correctly said, not only, tax is just one piece, but you can't run a car on just one wheel. The entire nuts and bolts have to be in place. Regulations, jurisdictions, ease of operations, and taxation. So he's getting the whole package, and that's why the corporate is coming here. So think of it in that way, that all the corporates in which you have currently invested the equity are saving so much money by leveraging GIFT City.
And there is one misconception that companies are being forced to come up in GIFT City, and they are being forced to come there and have an office, but they have their limited staff there, and there are not too much of recruitment and jobs there for the local people. So so what is the truth in that? I mean, are the companies being forced to come up here and put their market and put their listing here, or like what is the truth?
So, can actually anyone force any company to come? Firstly, right? So, I'll take our example. Right? We are all stock barrel. Everything is here in IFSC. So, if we open a second office, maybe in Mumbai for sales reason, or in Dubai for whatever, our head office is here. We are recruiting more people in GIFT City. Everything is happening in GIFT City. We were just talking about a very large prop trader. They have taken a whole building in GIFT City. And I was with their CEO this morning, in Mumbai. And they said that, I said, आप पूरा building ले लोगे? बोलते हाँ, हमने सोचा था कि पहले 7 floors we can utilize, but I think the entire thing will cover. So it is all by choice. This misconception might have been there earlier, but you see the regulations are changing in so positive way that the things are changing themselves.
So I would just like to add something here. So couple of days back, I was having a similar discussion with a conglomerate in Mumbai, and interestingly, they had just visited GIFT City a couple of days back. So the misconception that people have is that they are being forced, but actually because of the incentives that they are getting in Gift City, be it from a PF perspective or be it from a 10-year tax holiday perspective, and also compared to the metro cities like Mumbai and Delhi, the infrastructure cost here is far more cheaper. That is why you are seeing so many companies shifting their base to Gift City instead of just expanding it anywhere in Mumbai, Bangalore or Delhi.
I will tell you one live example. A very large private credit fund, a US private credit fund. For Asia, it was headquartered in Singapore. They have moved everything. They are completely moving to Gift City. There are 6 of the large funds have moved here. You know.
And also, if we are talking about small entities such as merchant bankers, I would not call them small, sorry, I take that
We
back.
are actually small.
But, entities like merchant bankers, etc. also, when they raise that query that, we cannot move to Gift City or we cannot have an entire setup in Gift City, again, I would say top-down approach. The regulators have come up recently, just a month back, with a regulation called the SBU regulation, where they are allowing a special business unit, a branch version to be set up in Gift City. So options are multiple. If people are moving here because of the tax holidays, because of the other advantages, they are moving by choice. And when they say that they are forced, those are the people who are just opening offices for the purpose of tax holidays. So again, clarifying, it's not a tax haven. It's a place where you can actually leverage all the advantages if you're physically present.
Sometimes, it's a very human tendency where something which is happening, we have kept word of thanks for you, Ketki. Please come. No issue. No, I was telling that sometimes something which is happening closer to our home, we don't believe. Saying that, ये नहीं हो सकता है यहाँ पे. But I think it's a right time and right opportunity where something is happening closer to our place. I think we should all be proud of that. India has also done it. We have done it in terms of now bringing the right kind of investors and institutions. Now think of a 5 university of campuses first time setting up in, you can force Indian player. Can you force a global player? 2 Australian, 3 UK universities are setting up their campus in Gift City
Michigan
today.
Ross was here 2-3 months back.
Correct,
right?
correct. So I think
Ivy League
some of these names.
But when we say force also, Sandip, I would like to say even a single investor is not a bichara anymore. Nobody can force anybody in today's day and age. If the corporate is coming there, he's coming there with full vision of what he wants to achieve. So that notion is maybe a little tweaked.
Yeah.
Sir,
Yeah.
refer to my earlier questions under LRS investments in the equity market. So suppose if I have invested in the equity scheme, so and with the investment, partial investment, if I want to withdraw from the this Gift City to my domestic INR account, so will it be possible?
So you mean the partial account lying in your savings bank account? Partial, yeah.
First, if I want to exit from the Gift City, Gift equity foreign currency market, if I want to withdraw that foreign amount into my INR account in India.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Alternatively, there are also, PSP, payment service providers, who provide the facilities where you can add only the requisite amount that you want to transfer to your wallet, which can be used for investment. So payment service providers work like Paytm, who have their own wallets. So for example, if you have transferred $1,000 to their accounts, and if you want to withdraw 500 to your account, you can always do that. It works in a similar fashion like your broking account.
Yeah.
See, there is a very unique system. If I may just add, I'll just take maybe a minute of investing, even in this first IPO. See, what is happening is, if you are an investor sitting out of US or Singapore or Australia, and suppose you go to your broker, right? You open your trading account. You go to Anand Rathi is one of the brokers here, right? Globe is another broker here. You go to their website or their app, right? And you say, I want to buy, say, 1,000 shares of this company. They will, the PSP, what Riddhi mentioned, they are already integrated with most of the brokers, and that is the new concept which we have come up with in Gift City. They will actually show you, fair enough, you need to pay itna ODs or itne SGDs, itne pounds. The link would be generated. Your money would be debited from your local account there. It would be credited by the PSP. The system, the broker will go and bid at the exchange, right? So your bid also happens, the money also gets collected, and at the same time, the RTA sitting here and all the people, merchant banker, exchange, everyone, they get information that we have collected the money from so and so investor and the bids have been placed. So you see the reconciliation happens that quickly. And otherwise what would have happened is you bid here, then you go to your bank, then you add the escrow banker, then you remit through Swift and all that stuff. All that is, this is a new system which has been developed. So technology wise also it's very nice.
Purpose, corporate fundraising purpose listing. So I want to know this one is who are the market intermediary like merchant banker? They are same merchant banker or some different merchant banker, or investor like QIP or these pension funds, they can invest Indian or foreigner, outsiders.
They can invest.
Or tradability also, what volumes they will listing in GIFT also be in other exchange also, foreign exchange like Nasdaq or Singapore.
So if they list on other exchange, I'm answering from your last question first. If they list on other exchanges, they lose the advantage of the lower withholding tax. Because finance minister has given the lower withholding tax advantage for the enhancement of the GIFT jurisdiction, and 9% versus 20% is available only if you are listing on GIFT City exchanges. So that is the first question. Second one, about who can be the investors. Indian pension funds, provident funds cannot invest in Indian issuers' foreign currency bond issuances. So earlier also, if the ECB was being raised and being listed on Singapore, London or Luxembourg, an Indian pension or provident fund could not invest in that, the rule remains the same. We have seen a plethora of foreign investors, and in fact, there are so many funds, so many Nordic funds, so many impact funds who have specially opened accounts in the depository in GIFT City to be able to leverage and to be able to list, to be able to invest in instruments which are being raised by Indian issuers, microfinance, NBFCs, large corporates, etc. So that option is there. The first question, sorry,
who is the merchant banker?
Merchant bankers, yes. So good question again, very good question. Again, IFSCA has not mandated that you need to have a merchant banker who is only set up in GIFT City. So suppose XYZ corporate here in Ahmedabad or in Mumbai or wherever is using JP Morgan or is using Standard Chartered or as his existing merchant banker, the same person can help him to raise the ECBs and that listing can happen. Again, these are large names I have used. It could be anybody.
Abhishek is looking at you.
Yeah. No. It's
No, it's for debt.
for debt, it's not mandatory. His question was for debt.
So for equity,
What volume is happening there if company listed tradability, investor point of view ki they can easily trade or they can
सर वी एज एन एक्सचेंज हमने रेलवे ट्रैक बना के रखा है उस पर वैगन चलाओ मेल गाड़ी चलाओ कुछ भी चला सकते हो पर कोई आता नहीं है क्या करेंगे फॉर डेट मार्केट द मार्केट इज वेरी ओपेक सो टू बी वेरी ऑनेस्ट इट्स नॉट ओनली इन इंडिया सिंगापुर Luxembourg, you can check Dubai also, London, who boasts of being one of the largest bond listing avenues. There is no secondary market. The diversity, the operational difficulties in clearing the global custodians, it makes it very difficult to do a secondary market trade in debt market. So to expect ECBs being secondary market traded is a little far off.
any foreign currency exchange risk.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, that would be if you are raising through listing in Singapore or Dubai also, no sir. It remains the same, but here you're saving 11% withholding tax. Ma'am, would like to go?
So sorry if I may, on the hedging bit, it's only logic. When you are an Indian issuer and you are raising money in foreign exchange, So then you are hedging because you are going to be able to generate your money to return in INR. Hedging helps you bridge the foreign exchange difference at the time when you are returning the money, right? Unless you are going to then raise money in INR, which also from an ECB perspective you can. And there have been ECB NCD issuances in INR. They are called domestic NCDs, although they are listed on IFSC exchanges. If you are raising in INR, then as an issuer, you don't need to hedge your risk. The risk will be hedged by the subscriber, right? Also, as far as the tradability is concerned, it is never a business proposition for bond subscribers that they will trade in those bonds. The idea is to hold those bonds for that period and then that's over, right? In terms of equity, intent is typically to trade in them. But, Abhishek is actually running the first ever IPO in IFSC. So you can imagine the kind of volume or trade that is already happening. There's nothing. And as Hetal said, there's a railway track. You can come. Once people start coming, there will be population and you'll also have a station master. But at the moment, there's only a railway track.
That's right.
This again one question regarding costing of listing. Costing of listing, like in NSE domestic market, it is 5-6% costing of fundraising generally happens. So what will be in
So
your
the
case?
cost of listing is $1,000.
Oh, only just.
Plain vanilla, $1,000. Right now we are only doing Samaj Seva.
So then तो ये domestic NSE और BSE तो close हो जाएंगे.
Sir, again I said, I'm going back to where I started from. We are not competing with our parents. BSE is her parent, NSE is my parent. We are not competing with our parents. If an Adani wants to raise NCDs, he will still go to NSE. But if an Adani wants to raise dollar bonds, he will come to me. We are different businesses.
So again,
SME
the
can
target market is completely different. The target market for borrowing is very different. If you are borrowing from a non-resident, it makes sense for you to borrow in IFSC. If you are borrowing from India, it does not make sense to have food like this, right? You'll have it like this. Domestic karna, so you will go to a normal BSc, NSC, you'll do it there. So it really depends on who your target lending market is.
और लिक्विडिटी का भी आपने जो बात किया ना, लिक्विडिटी देखिए इतना as केतकी rightly said that first मैं तो बात करता ही रहता हूँ इस चीज़ की लिक्विडिटी and we keep on taking a lot of opinions also formally and unofficially also. See the point is this, अभी मेरे ख्याल से 10-15 दिन में new KYC rules are also getting announced, right? And where the NRs and foreign nationals going forward, इसके बाद अगले rules भी आ रहे हैं जहाँ पे foreign nationals can also be onboarded very easily. Let me also tell you something. When you are applying for an IPO in GIFT City, you don't need a DMAT, right? You can still open a DMAT later on. ये ऐसा कभी सोचा भी नहीं था, कभी कहीं पे होगा भी, क्या होगा, but it is there. You can apply for an IPO through your broker, pay locally, domestically, a single journey, and then subsequently open a DMAT account. If you manage to open the account before the IPO closes, the stocks get credited to your DMAT. If not, the stocks are assigned to you if you get an allotment. They are kept in the suspense account. And subsequently, whenever you open, this open. And let me tell you, overall, the brokers जितने भी हैं, मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि अगले 1-1.5 साल के अंदर we will have only NRs का मैं बता रहा हूँ. At least 2.5 lakh or 3 lakh NRs which would be operating here. And of course the LRS money, as Sandip bhai said, we have $1 billion lying here. LRS money is huge. So for a Sri Lankan company or a Singaporean company, when they get listed, they will have advantage of both of all these things.
And I think we have a case study as well where Sri Lankan bank came to GIFT City to list the bond, right? Which is...
So, initially they have done a primary listing on their home exchange, Colombo Stock Exchange. After that, we realized that they have gone and for purpose of visibility, listed on Luxembourg Stock Exchange. We have now pulled them to GIFT City. They are now listed in GIFT. They have done a recce. They have come in. How many of you all have visited GIFT in the recent past? Okay, that's still a fair number, but they came all the way from Colombo to do a recce. So,
Correct. Maybe I think we are running out of time. Yeah.
Last, this SME can also come with listing for equity or bond. How much will be the minimum amount of issue?
So
size?
there is no SME or main board on the exchanges in GIFT City. As of now, if you are filing for a issuance which is less than $50 million, it comes for approval straight away to the exchanges. However, if it is above $50 million, it also goes to the regulator, which is the IFSCA. Apart from that, coming to a minimum size of issuance, there is as such no minimum size of issuance. But to just share quick highlights, the minimum dilution is 10%. Then you don't have any restriction on the categories of the investors, like how you have QIB, HNI, retail individual investors. That is not the case in terms of IFSCA listing. The discretion of allotment is completely left to the issuer and the lead manager. So these are some of the highlights. You don't even need minimum number of investors for an IPO. It can be 1, it can be 100, it can be 1,000.
So nice. Thanks.
Thank you. Any last question before we wind up this discussion? No, there is one regulator.
I said IFSCA.
Which is IFSC authority. So the RBI, SEBI, IRDA are in the domestic zone. There is a unified regulator in GIFT City, which is IFSC authority. So,
One window regulator, so
Yeah.
that's a good advantage here.
Now, how exchanges are helpful for, let's say, the process of understanding the client to go forward for NCB or whatever other, let's say, way of listing. But let's say as a merchant banker, whether the exchanges are helpful for getting the investor side, whether that activity is going on or not. Because that's a question to you also, because we are in the same boat, but over a period of time, we thought for this particular activity. So
So I am seeing it very different from India, frankly.
Okay.
जैसे इंडिया में होता है फंड रेज, वो थोड़ा सा अलग है, and we are used to it. Let us say,
Yeah.
हमें मालूम है, exchange भी करा देते हैं, वो भी करा देते हैं. यहाँ पे भी exchanges are very helpful.
Okay.
See, but the point is, in this first IPO, for example, अगर मैं बोलता हूँ, the audience investors कौन है? Investors are only NRIs or foreign investors. तो अभी there is no system which has been set, right? So I have been meeting a lot of people in Dubai, in Singapore, even in US, जहाँ पे there are doubts, and I'll be very candid, right? So ऐसा नहीं है कि हमने बोल दिया बड़े आराम से हो गया. There are and what I have faced is people are saying कि we like the company, let us invest privately. ऐसा भी हुआ है, because वही चीज़ होती है कि हम liquidity करेंगे. बट मेरा इसमें एक बहुत important चीज़ है for investors. See, we are used to Indian stock markets के listing gain कितना हो जाएगा, ये हो गया, ये पिछले कुछ साल से हो गया है, right? And we have a lot of commentaries, केडिया जी ने भी आके बोला और बहुत चीज़ बोला. यहाँ पे this you should treat this as a fairly more matured markets, and that is where, as a responsible merchant banker here also, I would like to treat it in such a way only. We would like to have the investors who are very stable, who understand the company. जैसे मैंने बोला 2.5-3 लाख NRs are getting opened in the next, हो सकता है 6 महीने में ही हो जाए. For example, Geojit, they have Burjeel there. उनके तो 1,65,000 they are saying कि उनके वो हैं. HDFC Securities has some 65,000. हम banks के मिला लें तो ही बहुत I don't know, maybe 10-15 लाख उनके हो जाते हैं NR clients. तो वो सारी liquidity eventually आनी है यहाँ पे. But that doesn't really mean कि हमने SME में जाके बोला यहाँ पे इतना गेन हो जाएगा, उसके बाद हम बाहर निकाल लें. And I'm very frank, right? वो ऐसा नहीं होने वाला है और ऐसा होना भी नहीं चाहिए मेरे ख्याल से.
I'll just add quickly to what Abhishek said. From an exchange perspective, what we can do is, if you have been to GIFT City, you will see that all the big names are there in just 3 buildings.
Correct.
So even BKC is far huge. So what we do is, as being part of an MII, we help you connect with various funds who are already sitting on lot of reserves,
Okay.
which can help you during your IPO process. he has rightly highlighted on that the retail is yet to come. But this market is for matured investors. So mostly it would be the institutional investors who would be very keen to invest in your issuances.
And last question, in the preparation of DRHP itself, you've gone through the exchanges. So how exchange and regulators are helpful in that process?
Very
of,
helpful.
In a real sense.
नहीं, I'll be very honest.
नहीं वो तो
They have.
ये तो अप्रूवल दिया है तो बोलना ही पड़ेगा, but in a normal sense we know in a capital market.
I'll put it this way, sir, and this is something that is true for all of us here. As I said, GIFT is a very passionate project for all of us because it is a very separate vision of our PM, and it has actually proven right in many spheres. As I said, GIFT Nifty, as we said, fund ecosystem, banking ecosystem, it has proven right. Bond ecosystem, we have highlighted the numbers. It has proven right everywhere. This is one more wheel, or rather I would say one more feather, which all of us want to add to the cap of the GIFT City ecosystem. And therefore, you know, again, not because he's sitting here, but I would say that we have handheld every single page of the DRHP, we have handheld every single process. We have acted as intermediaries in, you know, trying to marry demand and supply, trying to, you know, we've in every possible way, all the MIIs there, not only exchanges, but also the depositories, also the IFSCA authority, everybody has been very helpful.
मैं आपको इससे बड़ा example क्या बोलूँ? The flow exchanges were actually very considerate enough to even change the flow. I mean, I'm not getting into too much of details, but जब bidding होती है, तो इंडिया के अंदर bidding, and we had a lot of discussion. उन्होंने बोला यार बिड जब आता है तो हम पहले चेक करते हैं डीमैट है नहीं है, पहले डिपॉजिटरी के पास जाता है, उसके बाद, एंड दिस इज द फ्लो. It's a change which is, you know, a technology which is embedded, and the exchanges were kind enough, considerate enough to completely change it, because we realized that things needs to be changed. And I think exchanges were very patient, you know, with us at least, क्योंकि सबको पता है हम पहली बार कुछ करने जा रहे हैं, कुछ अलग करने जा रहे हैं.
That's the point I'm trying to highlight. So equity is one of, you know, direct listing of equity guidelines came in August last year. The question which all of us sitting here get asked, you know, कभी आ रहा है first IPO, कभी आ रहा है first IPO, boss आपसे ज़्यादा हमको pressure है. You know, we want to see the first IPO and make it a success, and rather make it a, you know, positive story, positive India story for everybody, and therefore all the MIIs are working very closely for the equity ecosystem.
So my last request is as आज सुबह भी मैं किसी से मिला था, they said that, you know, we have a lot of HNIs in India, and what we want to do is, why don't we become your distributors, and we want to do one thing. हमारे जितने भी HNIs हैं उनके कोई ना कोई relatives outside हैं, NRs हैं, आप हमें गाइड करो कि हम कैसे उनके फटाफट डिजिटली ऑनबोर्ड कर सकते हैं, डीमैट एंड ब्रोकिंग अकाउंट्स, कौन से ब्रोकर्स पार्टिसिपेट करें, एंड देन वी विल गेट यू अ लॉट ऑफ सप्लाई. दिस मॉर्निंग ऑल्सो इट हैपेंड. सो यहाँ पे भी आई थिंक दिस इज वॉट आई वुड रादर से, एज वी मैंशनड, at least you should get your DMATs opened, because अगले IPOs would be foreign IPOs also, so we all can invest. And whosoever you find, you know, NRs के अंदर जितना हो सकता है, जितने भी आपके relatives हैं, they should also get going. New rules are very soon.
Yeah.
In 10 days they should be out. It should be very easy to onboard.
No, thank you very much. Very intense, and I think this discussion is very important, because I think listing story that we are talking today, probably if we have the similar panel discussion after 1 year, the way we are talking of some numbers for fund management, where you know, more than $50 billion has been raised and invested. We were talking of $10-20 billion of banking asset size. We are talking today of $90 billion of banking asset size. Bond listing, which we were talking on the same lines 3 years back, today we are talking of $65 billion of bond listing. So I think the number of listing of equity will also change, probably next year when we are talking here, and maybe we will have issuers with us who will talk about the liquidity of the market. But
hopefully investors also.
Investors also, absolutely. Maybe we have not heard Ketaki much, so I'll give a closing remark, you know, request her to give a closing remark, because she has been part of the GIFT journey for last many years. She has seen many first such initiatives, not only for capital market but for many other aspects, and that will be your closing remarks as well as vote of thanks for all of us. Thank you.
I think at the outset, I just feel embarrassed that I walked in very late, and my apologies to everyone here. It was just very untimely rain, clubbed with traffic, but I guess that's not an excuse. I missed most of the interesting conversation, and I think that's my loss. But what I would say as a Guju and in a Dokla land is, if logic works, business works, and everything else then just follows suit. There have been many, many firsts in IFSC, but I would say that from a fundraising perspective, in the last 5 years, we've had a sizable amount of bond market which has grown. And I think compare it with the other bond markets across, I don't think you would have found such a rapid growth so quickly. Also, it's been a very good platform for Indian issuers and Indian borrowers largely to be able to raise money globally. In terms of the target market, when you look at it, while in India you are limited to just the Indian territory in most cases, and some bits of usual FPIs and other foreign investors, when you look at it from a GIFT perspective, your canvas is super big. There are a few limitations in terms of raising money from domestic institutions, but that's because that's anyways not the proposition, right? You would have otherwise done that from India. The bond market has really grown. I think that was a low-hanging fruit, and we've achieved it very well. I think now we will look at more structured and more products which are more complicated, again, from a GIFT perspective for offshore. But I think the new chapter which I'm more interested and very excited to look at is the equity listing. Of course, having Indian companies listed in GIFT is going to be a completely new proposition. But we would be very glad to even see foreign issuers coming to GIFT and looking at targeting the Indian retail diaspora to invest directly into these companies, as opposed to doing it through various fund and other structures that are currently in play. We know that most of the young population in the world is lying in India. We are the ones who are the brighter ones. In the world across, there's been economic struggle. India has not faced that yet. We have a very different culture, which is why even COVID times, etc., we were not short of funds, unlike many others where the governments had to pump money organizationally, to the retail investors, everybody. From an India perspective, we've only seen growth. We have the largest listed market across the globe. You won't see the number of listed entities across the globe, any market, NASDAQ, Tokyo Exchange, any of these, as the number of companies you will see listed on the SEBI exchanges. I think we have great potential to make GIFT a great equity listing destination, even for the foreigners to attract Indian money. We have a lot of Indian diaspora for whom global markets have become very easily accessible, because their local domestic banks have also now managed to get an offshore presence through GIFT branches. So offshore has come very closer to the Indian diaspora across every nook and corner of the country. People are getting more and more educated and well-versed with what's happening across even through internet, and a lot of technology has played great role for us to bring global market and global capital access closer for us. So when we look at raising money in GIFT, it's not just for Indian borrowers raising global money, it's also for global companies looking at Indian money and Indian
investments, which will both play very well from a GIFT platform perspective. I think I'm very excited for the whole equity listing chapter. GIFT as a proposition, you know, as Hetal mentioned, it's a passion project for most of us. We've worked a lot towards this, and it may be a project close to the PM, but that's probably the reason why we've been able to achieve a lot that we have in all these years. And I would say that, you know, for many who would think that how long will this last, I would say it's a ship that has already sailed, and it is for everyone to decide when they board it. But the ship has sailed and it's a success story already. So it's now about seeing, you know, the other firsts. Like, you know, Sandip mentioned, we've all of us have witnessed so many firsts in GIFT, and it's a different joy to create things on your own and then, you know, look at how these have become success stories. I think it's about now seeing how we see more liquidity, how we create products in the capital market at GIFT, because I think a lot of other markets in GIFT have, you know, products or I would say platforms in GIFT have already taken off. Now we want to all concentrate on the capital markets. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, and look forward to more such sessions going forward. And thanks everyone. I think we have exceeded a lot of time, but thanks for patience listening. Thank you.